Naam, kutoka Naivasha kwa mashindano ya WRC hadi Nairobi na tuhuma za match fixing ambazo sasa zimetuandama kama nchi baada ya Patrick Matasi yamkini kuyadaiwa kwamba akahusika katika haya mambo ya match fixing. Ndio baadhi ya mambo ambayo tutazungumzia hapo katika makala ya The Football Slip. Manake ni mambo ambayo yamegonga vichwa vya habari si hapa nchini tu bali nje ya mipaka ya Kenya. Mitandaoni, mpenzi mtazamaji, weekendi ni derby lila mashemeji kati ya AFC Leopards dhidi ya Gor Mahia ugani Nyayo siku ya Jumapili. Je, nani atashamiri katika mchuano huo? Gor Mahia AFC Leopards will be hosting Gor Mahia in the mashemeji derby this weekend at the Nyayo National Stadium. It's on Sunday. Who do you think will win this match? Talk to us. My X handle is at Hassan Juma. Robinson Okenye's handle is at R_Kenye. Our producer. Dennis Otachi. Karibu kuna handle ama
X.
He's not on X.
Yeah, I'm not on X.
Yeah.
There are some wakoras who did that key thing.
That thing happened.
Yeah, the key thing and took over the page, but I'm trying to see how.
You know, Hassan, Kariuki, sorry to interrupt what you're saying.
Yes.
My brother has been away for a long time.
Unapiga selfie.
Sasa unajua.
Selfie ni mzuri. Wacha tupige selfie.
Hajazoea likes. Unajua, he's been away for 1.5 weeks.
He has been in the dark.
1.5 months rather, not weeks. So leo anaona amemulikwa, anatokea vile anakuanga.
Alafu amekaa kwa kiti kama kwa sitting room.
Mama kuniokota tu.
He's not pole tutakuonesha namna yako.
Ndio nilimwona Naivasha.
Hawezi kosa. Alitoka Naivasha kama rais kutoka Naivasha akaingia Nyayo.
Sedo,
but welcome back.
Thank you for all you have said. But God is with us.
Sedo kopo?
Very much okay.
Unakasikia kwa nini? Umeanza kuogopa Gor Mahia? Too soon.
No. Gor Mahia is not a team to fizzle off.
Too soon,
mighty, as Robinson might say, AFC Leopards.
But they have been winning.
No. I know Sedo is not even thinking about Sunday's game. Sedo is thinking about match manipulation in Kenya, and that is what is making him sad. But of course, that will be. Oh, by the way, I'm Robinson Okenye. Me too ndio sijasema jina.
At R_Kenye.
At R_Kenye.
Unajua amesema nikafikiria Matasi
Actually, you also not introduce me. Why?
Roger Sishtemi, good to have you back.
Thank you. Yes.
Where have you been? Where have you been?
No, I'm trying to re-energize myself.
No, where is the gown?
No. He came after graduation.
You are not
here.
He did some shows, then he left.
Not here.
Yes.
You are not here.
No, he was. Cedric was here. Cedric was here.
2 or 3 shows then.
Yeah, then he left. So,
he's aging so fast.
how was your vacation and rejuvenation, whatever you went to do?
No. Actually, it has been a good break, and I thank God. In life, you need at least to take a break for you to refocus, see what is happening, and also to get that energy and come back strongly. But all the same, I think it has been well. And having seen what has been transpiring in the Kenyan sports ecosystem, it's really saddening. Of course, there are good stories and bad stories. And in the last few days or so, it has been saddening. But
we'll be getting to that.
All said and done, Harambee Starlets are still on top. And also Junior Starlets are doing their things. And then Rising Stars, they're already on their preparation heading to AFCON under 20 in Egypt.
Yes, remember, Roger Sishtemi has mentioned the Rising Stars. That tournament was supposed to, the Africa under 20 AFCON was supposed to be held in Ivory Coast, but now it has been shifted to Egypt. So we'll be waiting to see how Kenya performs in that tournament. The head coach, that is Salim Babu, said that Kenya, rather, he's optimistic that will perform very well. Now, aside from that, Cedric Musumba and Daniel Kariuki, thank you very much for holding it down last week, as well as Davis Beria, who's not here in with us today. He had other obligations, he couldn't make it. So thank you very much for holding it down as we were in Vasha with Hassan Juma. Of course, he knows what happens in Vasha, stays in Vasha, shall never be brought to Nairobi. So,
Liam is watching this show.
yeah, we were in Naivasha.
So what
we did
happened?
the show from Naivasha.
So what happened?
No, he's saying whatever happened. And what happened?
But
We did the show from Naivasha.
Why can't you bring it back? It's okay.
So, of course, I want us to recap how the week has been, of course, in sports. And, watch her to PGE faster, before we get into the hot topic of the day. Of course, Victor Wanyama has signed for a Scottish second division team, so he will be playing there, and all eyes are on him. Remember, when he was in Scotland, when he was playing for Celtic, he scored a very huge and important goal against FC Barcelona. Yes, people remember him with that goal. This Celtic fans remember him with that goal that he scored against Barcelona. Now, aside from Victor Wanyama, we've also had other moments this week where we saw Nigeria settle for a 1-1 draw against Zimbabwe. Cedric, quickly, very briefly, this draw hurt Nigerians. They thought they were going to get a win so that they can get closer to South Africa. But now they're 5 points behind South Africa.
Which is a good thing actually to hear about the
But we want to see the best teams in Africa in the world.
The best by name, but it tells you also that teams are coming up. Even those teams that are beating Nigeria are actually showing us up that they are ready for the World Cup. It's not only Nigeria. So as to say, all the angles that the permutation that we have all along had, the Nigeria, the Cameroon, the, let's say, Ivory Coast, the Senegal,
Egypt, yeah.
When this so-called middle or small team raise up actually to ask them or to stop them from advancing their agenda, it tells you how African kind of soccer is really growing up and growing up to the value of even us. And seeing Nigeria struggling with all the studded kind of lineup that is assembled before this team actually puts a smile on my face, and it tells a story of a different a different nature of soccer that we should be embracing in Africa.
So let's move away from Nigeria versus Zimbabwe. We take a look at other moments that we had this week. We had Iran became the 6th team to qualify for the World Cup. Now, remember, let's begin with the teams that have qualified for World Cup. We have USA, we have Canada, we have Mexico. And then you have Japan, and then now you have Iran and Argentina. Very, very impressive. And remember, this is the team that we played against in some friendlies that we thought we were going to win. But that disparity where they are now and where Kenya is one that we are going to talk about.
What made us to lose that friendly?
Huh?
What made us to lose that friendly against Iran?
Can you imagine Iran playing their matches in the USA? Yes.
Yeah, they
politically speaking.
Probably the group will be Mexico. The group will be Mexico or Canada. But let's...
Robbie,
yes.
before maybe moving ahead, also talking about the Nigerian group, it's interesting because that particular moment... it is important. It is important. You've just forgotten. That particular moment, South Africa are leading that group. That is Group C. They had, I think, 13 points. But interestingly, there was an oversight. They fielded an ineligible player. That is Tebogo Makoyana.
Yes.
How can a big team like South Africa
are playing Lesotho, and Lesotho, South Africa played Tebogo, but there are rumors that Lesotho have said they are not going to launch a complaint.
No. But there was I think an article on NFP which said that they had already filed a complaint to CAF and FIFA at the same time. But you understand, maybe CAF president is South African, maybe that's why they're afraid to continue that need. But it's quite interesting that
that's a Kenyan's way of understanding that does not apply.
Well, it can't apply.
But of course, gentlemen, it seems today it's going to be a bare knuckle tackles that we'll be having here in the show. But let's move away from Zimbabwe and Nigeria, and of course from Iran and Argentina have qualified for the World Cup. Yes, they are one of the 6 teams that has qualified for the World Cup. This is after getting that 4-1 win against Brazil. Mtu wa Murima, hii huko unatarajia?
Lakini ni kama unajua kule mitaani, let me now take the position of Mberia with Kiswahili. Kule mitaani sana wanasema
jina kubwa ni Brazil.
Lakini wanasema ni kama iliisha kama ile kampuni. Sasa
Kampuni gani hiyo?
achana na hiyo maneno. Now it was expected actually, and that's why we'll say that Argentina has is on their World Cup.
And remember this match, Messi did not play.
Yes, and it is not the first time that we are seeing them trash Brazil. It's not the first time that we are seeing a very heated game that are showing why Argentina remains one of the teams that are always
still the team to be beaten
in the World Cup. Yes. That's what I wanted actually to say. And it was 4-1, I think.
4-1.
It was 4-1, and I would say everyone expected that Argentina would do some good work, but not 4-1.
Sedo, briefly, for the last 3 or 4 years, Brazil has not beaten Argentina. And they went into this game with the top superstars. Not even, Sedo, I don't want you to answer this. Hassan, you've been to Brazil, and you know how crazy they are about football. And this is something that they expected to win. They expected to beat Argentina, the world champions, so that they can show the world that we are back. We faltered at the World Cup, but we are back. We want to qualify for the World Cup. Because at the moment, you look at the table standings of the South American qualifiers, Argentina is at Brazil is at number 4.
It is unfortunate. I remember nikiwa huko nani alipoumia Neymar. Neymar, yeah?
Yes. That was in 2014 or 2010?
2010. The World Cup ended.
2010 was
2010
South Africa.
2014,
2014,
yes.
2014, yeah. Kitambo by the way.
Umezeeka bana.
Umezeeka.
Okay, guys, okay, kwa hiyo ni sasa tunaenda. Okay,
Come back, Samba boy.
Yeah, you know, it's important because we'd want both teams to be in the World Cup, you know,
right.
because they spice up the tournament. Man. But again, it was expected. Brazil, nafikiri pia kocha ako chini kidogo. Kocha wao, kocha ako chini.
Na pia ni kama watakangi coach sana foreigners.
Nini Brazil?
They don't like foreigners to taking them.
I don't want us to stick there for long. Najua mtasema they don't have a strong coach. They don't have they have the best players in the world.
Yeah, you could have the best players, but
besides me, they have
shining in other clubs,
but you don't have a good technical bench.
But Robbie, sorry,
go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to say something that sounds so much controversial, but and again in a sports arena you will agree with me. Defense has always won team tournaments.
Yes.
Tournaments. And this Argentina team has been investing heavily in defensive. We know all the defensive team
that is because the coach was a defender.
But all the defensive team we see in Europe, the team that we think and any other team that actually fear to meet, it's full of Argentinians. Look at the Atletico Madrid. Who are those players that are there?
Funny thing, Cedric, now that you mentioned that, Argentina has almost 4 players, actually 5, that are playing for Argentina.
Yeah, and it's when I say a permutation and analytical, you see that even the defensive midfield, the best defensive midfielders currently, they are still coming from the same country. So as if we assemble a squad, they have actually, the coach has the variety of players to field, and when they field, it locks out any other team that is going to meet them. You see, Brazil were finding it so hard to penetrate that particular defense. And even them after the match, you will see the likes of Rodrigo de Paul actually laughing with their lungs out, knowing whatever they have done to Brazil is what they were looking for. But they are playing in a very good...
But why are we talking about the defense? Why are you talking about the 4 goals?
They scored goals, how you see,
it means they have a
what I mean,
striking force.
What I mean, the value of you defending gives you an urge of going forward. Because if you have confidence,
the attack, so that
for you to get those spaces.
The best way
and that's what they have been
is
doing
to defend. Definitely.
And that's what they have been doing all along.
And Robbie, looking about that also, I think pre this match, the Brazilian talk really big. That's the likes of Rodrigo and Rafinha. They talk big on the legendary Romario's podcast. But now they had to swallow the words. They had to. I think
they say they're going to beat Argentina, and they're
for the sake
going
of
to do it
Neymar
on the beach and outside the pitch.
For Neymar.
But that
it is
so
the best. The best way to defend
this
is to attack.
Yes,
you say the best way to attack is to defend.
We move into what happened this week in our AFCON qualifiers, where we had where we had Algeria, of course, inching closer to qualifying for the World Cup. They got a fantastic win. It was 4-1. against Mozambique. And then aside from Algeria winning, we had Morocco getting a 2-0 win against Tanzania. They are also on 15 points, inching closer to qualifying for the World Cup. They know. Mesileki na Morocco. Remember, this is the best team in the...
Ameangalia kina Mohamed.
Umeona huyu jamaa ukasileki. Oh, you are star-studded. Yes.
Mazrui.
This is Morocco, of course, so they got a win against Tanzania. Let's move on from this, and then let's move on to the next moment that was making headline this week. Of course, Sepp Blatter and Michel Platini, they have been acquitted. They were acquitted by Swiss court. So it remains to be very interesting. Of course, these guys they have been in court for almost 13 years now. A case that has been pending for a very long time. So it means now that probably they will be free in a few years to come. And then we move away from Platini and Sepp Blatter. We moved to Barcelona. Yesterday they were in action. They got a 3-0 win against Osasuna. They go top of La Liga with 63 points. Second is Real Madrid with 60. Let's move away from this. We take a look at the big games of the weekend where we have they know. Kwani tena unapenda the big games of the weekend. Napoli will be at home taking on AC Milan. Very, very interesting. But aside from that, also in Serie A, Fiorentina will be taking on Atalanta. Remember, Atalanta has the top scorer in Serie A this season. But aside from that, also the big game that we have in local football is the Mashemeji Derby on Sunday, where FC Leopards host Gor Mahia at the Nyayo National Stadium. Now, let's move away from this. We get into the big topic for the last 3 days in Kenyan football: match manipulation. Now, on Wednesday night, reports came out, or rather a video came out circulating on social media showing Patrick Matasi in a conversation with an unknown person, and they were having a conversation of trying to manipulate the outcome of a game. First, we don't know who this unknown person is. We don't know when this clip was recorded, and Patrick Matasi is yet to be found guilty of match manipulation. Yes, he denied that he's not him. The chairperson of his club, that is Kakamega Homeboys, who is Cleophas Malala, not Malala, Cleophas Shimanyula, rather, I beg your pardon, Cleophas Shimanyula, said that they have to wait until investigations are done by CAF, by FKF, CAF, and FIFA, and then they have to make a conclusion. But for now, they have to stick with Patrick Matasi, and this is because lots of things can be done on social media, so they don't believe in that. So first, let's take a look at what FKF, that is the Football Administration football administration body in the country, said. Now, they said Football Kenya Federation has provisionally suspended goalkeeper Patrick Matasi from all FKF sanctioned events and competitions for 90 days. Now, following the concerns raised by circulation videos suggesting possible match manipulation. Now, the decision made in accordance with Section 7 at Sabbatical 2 of the FKF Anti-Match Manipulation Regulation 2016 has been formally communicated to Kakamega Homeboys FC and the player. This was done yesterday night. Now, today, FKF wrote to DCI, that is the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, and this is what part of the letter said. Now, the Federation appreciates that the said actions of match manipulations are not expressly provided for within our criminal justice system, but remains committed to curbing this vice and the involvement of public authorities. We continue with that with the letter from FKF to DCI. Now, your assistance in this matter will be highly appreciated as the Federation works towards curbing this vice and engaging the relevant body for the necessary legislative amendments to criminalize this vice. Which vice are we talking about? Match manipulations. So, Hassan, tuanze na wewe. Match manipulation.
You know,
and gentlemen, because Matasi has not been found guilty, I will not want us to put Matasi into this conversation. We'll talk about match manipulation. Let me get that letter from FKF. Let's talk about match manipulation in the country, because he's not been found guilty. Yes, the video was circulating, but he's not been found guilty. So we'll not use that, but we want to talk about match manipulation in the country. Hassan, let me begin with you.
Yeah, I feel like our laws are a bit weak with regards to this topic, because kuna wakati fulani shirikisho la Kanada nchini walienda bungeni, ile afisi nyingine ambayo inaongozana na aliyekuwa Rais Nick Mwendwa, na akasema lazima sheria watengeneze sheria ambazo zitakuwa zina uzito, ambazo zitadhibiti ili janga la match manipulation. But up to date,
no law has been set.
The laws are very weak. People have been walking free, scot free. Hakuna mtu ambaye ameshikwa. It's not the first time. Patrick Matasi aside, we've had some cases before. Lakini zimeenda wapi?
Yes.
Players involved, nothing happened. Agents caught, nothing happened. Why? Because sheria zetu,
it's not a crime.
It's not a crime.
Yes.
In Kenya, it's not a crime in Kenya. Yes, so.
Eshteni.
Just like what Juma said, it's just unfortunate. This is like a song I've been singing for the longest period possible, but unfortunately nothing is being done. And it's high time the parliament need to walk the talk and maybe do a collective responsibility. Let's join hands so that at least this menace can be killed, because at the end of the day, it's going to destroy careers of many people.
It's not the first time.
It isn't.
It's not the first time.
It is not.
We've had a player that, was recorded by a foreign journalist that he was, I think the journalist, not the journalist, but the fixer was called Perumal, who was jailed.
That was in 2010, 2011. That was
to fix a qualifier.
Yeah, Giorgio Ino was actually banned, I think, for a couple of years, and also fined heftily because of that vice. Unfortunately, people are not reading or learning from such incidents, because, it's something that maybe somebody has already reached his sunset years, and he knows, even if I'm banned, even if I'm fined, nothing to lose. I'll have to use that, whatever I gain from this vice, to enrich myself. Unfortunately, whoever have been involved into this vice, they don't last too long. Even if you look at their lives, they're living very miserable lives, because actually you're trying to destroy the integrity of the game, that trying to benefit a number of people in the country. That said aside, also the federation are here to blame, because most of them, they don't have those strong departments that can really try and work and nab these people. These people are all over the country. Back then, I think, was it 2016, 2017?
We had a coach.
No, leave alone that.
Yes.
There's a game in Machakos. It was a double header, and I was there. I covered that game. The first game, I suspected a goal. And the second game, also I suspected some goals that was scored. And I wrote that in my report back then, that those goals were suspicious. And I think 4 years later
Was the story killed?
No, it wasn't.
No,
It trend. And 4 years later or so, those guys were found guilty of match fixing. Because I had already seen it, my personal, that indeed these 2 goals or 3 goals were suspicious. So it's not something that has started today. It has been there. So it's up to us, the federation, the league administrators, the player themselves. Because you as a player, when you do these things, what do you think? Because you'll be given few monies, and then after that?
Do you believe the top governing body officials are involved?
Probably, because that much confidence, we wonder where the player are getting such kind of confidence. And I will give a case scenario. When this player actually are signing for the teams, they are so naive. Them to gain such kind of courage and they start actually fixing matches is what we are questioning. And we might say that maybe if it comes to betting, they are betting with a hefty chunk of money. Because if you bet for a match, maybe regardless of what we have seen guys betting, they are down there at the village with their small amount of money, cannot really call for that kind of, let's say, high magnitude or high rated match fixing, maybe like a national team playing against another national team. But that said and done, I will still say that, okay, we might be having weak laws, as my friends or my colleagues here have put it. But and remember, we are operating under the umbrella or under the purview of an affiliate body to FIFA, which is an FKF. FIFA has got some strong
laws
the strong laws that actually punishes this kind of, and FIFA can really rein even deep down to this kind of player and make them look miserably.
But unfortunately, let me just hold you kidogo, because FIFA, what they can do is only to fine you and ban you, but they can't.
Yes,
take
I
you
was
to jail.
I was coming there. I was coming there before you interjected me.
Yeah.
You see, this player, and we know them. Some of them actually they are living for their actually livelihood depends on this particular soccer.
So
as if you start arresting,
are you saying that we don't pay our players enough? So that is the reason they're turning to this.
No, not necessarily, because once you choose to do certain, regardless of whatever job that you are choosing to do, you do with a purpose. And you know whatever outcome you'll get out of it will actually put something onto your table. So the equation of you being paid little or whatever does not really stand. Because you go there reasonably knowing that you are going, that's the career you have chosen. And more so in a game of a sport is passionate. Maybe you are doing it on top of something else. So as the essence of payment and everything shouldn't actually be surrounding this all day. What I was talking about FIFA, I was like, if the federation can coordinate very well with FIFA and start arresting this case when they are still tender, you know, when somebody is actually trying to poke their head out here and they get arrested, and you kill their career at that particular time, and it becomes so rampant that you have killed so many people career at a very tender age. Those people who are thinking of doing that, they will fizzle off, even before we put laws in place. It's only up to us actually to start arresting this case when they are still young, rather than waiting until we have seen Harambee Star has suffered against Iran. I'm not telling it's Matasi, but we have seen a kind of goals Harambee Star have conceded, and we start questioning. So as we fans, we actually left in pain. We weeping our tears. Why? We go play very well against Iran. We even went ahead, scored first, but we ended up losing miserably.
Football is an emotive game.
You see, the thing that happens with football, it's an emotive game that we all get very emotional, and we'll be coming to that in a bit. Kariuki, you're a political reporter who loves sports. That is why you're on the football slip. Why do you think Parliament has not enacted a law that will criminalize match manipulation?
And you interact with these politicians.
Now, first and foremost, I was very prepared, but now Robbie decided he emotionally appealed to us not to handle the situation the way we wanted.
No, you
and
see,
also it's okay, and
you understand him. Yeah, we understand him.
Yes. Understand him, but I was very prepared to handle that topic in a way.
Sedo tried, but also he had been contained that he was and this goes to Naziona.
It is okay.
You know actually, let me hit the nail of the head.
Hey, Kariuki.
But what he was saying,
yes, I'm looking at. We need to take a break.
Yes, before we take a break.
Why do you think Parliament hasn't enacted such a law?
In Parliament,
yes.
Laws are enacted depending with who are pushing these laws. The government brings the bills, and they are sponsored by the majority leader, or rather they are tabled and brought to the House by the majority leader if it is by the government. But now, has FKF come up with a bill that can be taken through the committee that deals with matters to do with sports?
Yes.
They have not. It is upon them to push for that, because FKF understands better how these laws should be handled. They're the ones to propose to the committee.
We have
and then
wait,
yes, there's Bunge team, but Bunge team is not under FKF.
Bunge team want to enjoy those ones.
They understand soccer.
You see, it is not about understanding soccer. It's about the people who are the institutions that are mandated
to carry out
these roles. And you see, Bunge team ni kujienjoy too. I don't think they participate in any tournament apart from friendlies with maybe our
East Africa,
but you see, at a sports, the committee that deals with matters to do with sports, it's just a committee that is there to call in maybe the CS Sports, to call in maybe FKF at some point, but not necessarily to come up with some of the bills. They have to be pushed to come up with those bills.
But you know,
Now that
just a
you've
minute.
now that you've explained, thank you very much. We take a short break. When we come back, Hassan Juma will be reading your feedback, and we continue with this conversation. That will be after the break.
Lakini wametuga